against abortion. My partner against also is Paulino, and in favor is Diego and David. Want to start?
Yes, I'm gonna start with the first thing that is that like I'm in favor, so I put the principal topic that is the feminism that is going through all this topic around, and I'm gonna start telling that, for example, if a woman, gets like abused in sexual terms, that it's not like a correct way to have it. Like, okay, I'm gonna have a baby, but I don't like it. I didn't want it to have it. It is not correct to like have a baby if you don't like want it. So, what do you think about that? If some of you want to respond.
Well, I think that those cases are very unfortunate and they are very common. They happen a lot. But I always think that even if it's something like even if that the person who had abused is really young and she's gonna have trouble having the baby, it's always possible. And I think that it's better if, of course, it's a risk for the little girl, and it's a risk that she could have negative effects on her body because of the process of having a child. But I think that it's more riskier. Like I was doing my research yesterday, and having an abortion could really have negative effects on the woman's body because of the procedure. And nowadays, since the beginning of time, abortion has been illegal in a lot of places, and because of it being illegal, many the places where you get abortions are clandestine, so the doctors and the people that do the abortions are not well prepared, or they don't have the good tools to make the abortion, or they're not they don't know a lot about the topic. So this poses a risk for the woman's physical health. And I'm gonna read you some abortion, some risks, and some risks that the process of the abortion can have. So one risk is pelvic infection. Another one is that the woman can have an incomplete abortion, and some fetal parts can be still left in the body, and that can cause harms to her organs and things like that. Another risk is blood clots in the uterus, heavy bleeding, cut or torn cervix, perforation of the uterus wall, anesthesia-related complications, and Rh immune globulin therapy. So these are some risks that these women can go through, just physically. And yeah, I think that's why I think they should always consider other alternatives, like having the baby and maybe giving it to abortion or things like that.
Well, actually, in that topic, as you were saying, the fact that it is unsafe, or that the procedure can go wrong, is because it is illegal. Like, let's say, for example, with drugs, they have been legal for a long time, and it caused more problems than good. And so it's the same with this. If abortion was legal, it would be easier to have a regulation in the procedures. It will be safer, and also the society as a whole would benefit from it, because, well, first of all, there will be the regulation. There would be the people will be happier with the procedures. It will be more okay, you can do it, but in certain situations, because it is regulated, they will say, okay, you can have this, but only if there's a reason to do it. And so I think it is better to make it legal, just so it is easier to access.
No, I understand your point that by making it legal, it could be like regulated and people could maybe study it and develop new ways to lay out the procedure, but it's still dangerous, you know, it's still an operation and you're still putting your life in danger, um, you know, basically to kill another life. It doesn't take away the fact that you're preventing life from happening. Whether it's illegal or not, I mean, if it's illegal, it's more dangerous. If it's not, it's less dangerous, but it still is.
Yes, I'm gonna say something about that. That is, for example, if you have the baby, so we are supposed that is like the woman in danger of dying, and she has the baby. So, but she doesn't have like the economy to sustain the baby. So how this baby is gonna live the life? So it's gonna have a really bad life because, for example, this girl, I don't know, 18 years old, and she doesn't have the money to give a good life to this baby. So they're gonna, you know, there's so many cases here in Mexico that younger people stay like in lower economy because they have to sustain not only themselves, uh, they have to sustain like another life, and they don't have like all the we all know that right here in Mexico we don't have like too much public things to help us with the health and those things, and if you add this thing like you have to sustain another life, it's like you're not gonna have a good life, you're gonna be suffering, and you're not gonna be able to like this word live the life.
I agree with you in that, but as I said, there are always alternatives to abortion, and the main one is adoption. And there are a lot of right now with all the things that we're living, that there are a lot of gay couples and a lot of like we are not reproducing as much as the older times. Many people are wanting to adopt, so I think that there are many couples who are eager to you know to have a kid. Maybe they can't, so they go to the adoption center. And if you are like as you said, as the example you said, an 18-year-old girl that can't maintain and doesn't have the necessities to you know to have a child and to live with him, she should always consider, instead of killing the unborn child, sending him or her to abortion, so she should, like the mother and the unborn child can you know can have a good life and a life. That's what I think.
Well, first of all, with getting people into adoption, it is not such a good option because, well, I agree that there are more regulations that let gay couples adopt, but in the end it's the same because, well, first of all, it's a slow process, it's unreliable, and there's no guarantee that the child would have a good life. Like, they could be horrible parents, and, well, in order to like make sure that they are not that, they have to pass through a lot of tests, but that often leads to like many kids not being adopted because also like there's a problem that if the kid is old enough, well, like too old, for example, like 6 years or even 10 years old, almost no one will want to adopt him because it is more likely to adopt like a child or a baby rather than a grown child, and so that could happen. And as for the dangers of abortion in like clinical environment, yes, it is somewhat dangerous, but the treatment is the same as a non-viable pregnancy, and so, well, because well, in a non-viable pregnancy is like often the results are the same and the treatment are the same. So, it has already been studied and practiced, and it's not so risky as even sometimes having a baby, because well, there is a risk, but the things that will come in life are worse than that risk.
Okay, so I wanna talk about the point that you said that maybe the kid couldn't have like a good life. Well, I think that having a life is more important, you know, than not having anything at all. There are a lot of people that have bad lives right now. You can see people with depression. They are not feeling well. They maybe don't want to leave and everything, and you're not just gonna go and like, you know, kill them just because they are not having a good life. I think it's important to appreciate that it is a living organism, and it's a living human, that it's developing and it's growing, and it has to have the opportunity to be something one day, you know.
Okay, but do you prefer like having these kids suffering all around their lives? Like, they are not gonna have a good life with the economical system and those things, and you prefer to have them like suffering all around his or their life? And also, I have to add something to you because you said that there's less reproduction, less the years that in the past. But also, these centers of adoption have reduced their terms to adopt some kids because they have oversaturated these centers, and they like right now are asking for a little things like you need to have your email and your like a location to live, and that's it. It's like a super reduced the terms, so it's like whoever wants can adopt, but they are like separating that are gonna have a good life for these kids, or they're just gonna adopt for adopt. Like they don't secure that they are gonna have a good life. Also, if the if the abortion what's were legal for all Mexico, this problem it's gonna disappear because they don't gonna have like it's oversaturated centers of kids, and also like I said with you, these kids are gonna become adults, and we're sure, and we have the numbers that these kids are not gonna have a good life in the future.
Well, about the, like, it's because about the saturated adoption centers, it's always better to like, as my partner said, like, it's better to live a life, and because it's something really strange to be alive, and like it's much better to live and maybe be some years in an adoption center and one day be lucky to be adopted, than be dead and not have the like not be able to live the life. And also about people not being able to adopt, or like when they adopt, not guaranteeing the child a good life, as he said, like the parents that go and make and like that want to to adopt, they have to go through tests, and 9 out of 10 times that the child that gets adopted lives a good life, and it's wanted and it's loved, and it's like they have a good and prosperous life because of the test, and because the parents are like, they need to check the backgrounds of the parents, if they have friends, if they have a good economic life, if I don't know, they have good social skills. So as I said, like 9 times out of 10, these kids have a good life, and they don't go through bad paths.
As well, as the big problem with that logic is that if you make the tests too rigorous, well, you could ensure that they have have ensured that they would have a good life, but it isn't really the best option because, well, you would say, oh, one kid has a good life, but many others don't get adopted and just like grow in an orphanage or something. And in the contrary, it would be like, okay, no tests. It would lead to insecurity and all that. So I think that the adoption system is already flawed, as you cannot go into any extreme, and so it would be worse to put more kids in that place because it just forces people to like lower the regulations in order for them to get adopted.
No, oh, replying to what you said that maybe like 50, it's a 50-50, you know, 50% of kids do get to go into a family, do have a good life, and 50% don't. I mean, the fact that you are not adopted doesn't mean that you're gonna live a horrible life, you know. I understand that not having the presence of parents throughout your life can be challenging, but I think that at some point the kids will overcome that, you know. And I think it's a risk that people should be willing to take if it means, you know, letting life go, you know. You know, if you think about it, when you're having sexual intercourse and the person, you know, ejaculates, there are millions and millions of sperm cells that go, you know, and the one that you know, how can I say it, the one that wins, you know, the race per se, that race against millions and millions of other sperm cells, you know, he wins the race and he's able to get in, you know, and after doing all that, you're just gonna take his life away. I mean, you're not gonna let him have the possibility of living a good life, whether it's a 50-50 or it's a 25-75. You're not letting room for a possibility of a good life. You're just taking all the possibilities away.
Okay, so we are supposed that this, for example, then you win the race. Okay, so you're gonna be based on this, like if someone wins this race, you think that it's like okay, you have this trophy and the trophy is life, but this is not like secure that it's gonna be a good life. And for example, what happens with the babies in these centers that are not adopted? For example, I don't know what's the amount of babies that are adopted, but I think that it's not like a higher. But what happens with these babies when they grow up and they became like adults? They are gonna just let them go. They're not gonna be in the centers all their lives, and so they go to the streets and they don't have a place to go because I think that it's gonna be like the 10% of 100 of these babies that are not gonna like be adopted, for example. But this 10% also it matters because this 10% maybe is the persons that are living in the streets and they don't have a good life. So, what do you think that? Do you think that it's like better to live in the streets and have this life of like these persons that are like working by cleaning the in the cars in los semáforos? Do you think that it's better to have that life that being like that having the abortion, like
Yes.
doing?
Well, I think about that, like even people who are born like the right way, like people like two parents that want to have a child. There are many people that go to the streets and become criminals and do bad things and what you're saying is like if you were saying like what do you prefer to like have a human that I mean maybe does bad things or he maybe I don't know sells drugs or maybe rob some stores or kill somebody, it's mostly like that, like or have or not have like eliminate someone from being able to come to earth and maybe not being like that or having a person that he's in the streets but he can maybe change and maybe change for good. And I also think like even like that, like human life begins at conception, so like even like just like if you even if the fetus is like still in the early stages is and you abort it, it's like still committing like murder, and and yes, I think that regardless of the stage of the fetus, it, like no, you shouldn't abort it because you know, life begins at conception, and yes.
I want to reply to what you said, and you said that what would happen if maybe 90% of the kids grow up to be good people and grow up to have a good life, and 10% grow up to maybe be homeless, maybe be in the streets, maybe have a bad life. Me personally, I would 100% take a gamble on that because it shows a great amount of, you know, kids that will grow up to do something, and even the 10% that don't deserve a chance at life, you know.
But well, that percentage could be way different depending on the conditions and how adoption works, like how regulated it is, and also like that would be in an ideal situation where all the adopted kids get like a good life or good enough life to be helpful in society, but that is often not the case. Like in reality, people like there are a lot of parents who are not good enough. Like for any reason, they could be like too centered on money, or even like just like distant parents. There are many parenting styles that are like flawed, and so like if even people who have parents are like having a hard time, like not having them is even worse. And so the gamble that you will be making is into a really small percentage of people that actually come out good, and most of them, like the majority, would be in bad conditions, bad life, and just being suffering from their birth.
Yeah, and I understand that, but so Diego here put me in a situation and I responded to it.
So I'm gonna mention that, for example, in real life, we have Cortaco. So many people that don't do this abortion. We know that, for example, a normal person in the right here in Monterrey, they don't do the abortion, but they have like 4 or 5 kids. Do you think that it's like a good for their life, like having a lot of kids and don't bringing in, don't having to them a good life, good for example, they have to work since kids, like 12, 10 years old. The parents need to have them working. Do you think it's better to have like a lot of kids instead of having like 2, 3 and giving them a good life?
Well, I think that every parent needs to analyze the situation they're in and what they can afford and how they are, you know, economically established, and think what they can provide, you know. And if 2 parents can provide for 6 children, then they can do so. If they can provide everything they need. If some parents are only able to provide to 2 kids, then they should think about that, you know. They should think about how many kids they want to have and how many kids they can provide for.
Well, just like everything in life, you can plan for something, but something different might happen. Like for example, you might have 2 kids at a time, or even 3. And so I'm not saying that they have to be aborted, but like it is good to have abortion as a tool because, well, there are many cases in which Planned Parenthood wasn't a thing, and so it is better to have that option because, well, as you said, if you don't have the resources to give them a good life, like there has to be another option, and more often than not, they like end up doing an illegal abortion, which is way more dangerous than if it was legal.
But I think I think that abortion shouldn't even be like considered a tool, you know, because like fetuses and preborn babies are like living things and they can feel things. Like for example, I was looking up for some information about this, and I found out that the child, like inside the womb, they like to sleep in the womb while their mother is awake, as the movement rocks them to sleep. So like those are things, and that is one thing. Then another thing is that they feel the mother emotions as the same level of intensity. Another thing that I was like really surprised was that a cold glass of water makes them shiver. They develop taste buds. They months before birth, the whole body becomes sensitive enough to feel a single hair brushing across it. So it's like you like there are researches that can that can provide you with information that these unborn childs like they have feelings and they have emotions and they can feel stuff. So I just think like considering abortion is just like not caring about the life of somebody and like just wanting, of course it's for your own reasons. Sometimes they just want to abort because they don't want like to have a baby because maybe they are lazy, but sometimes in our cases which are very delicate, and I agree with some of you of your opinions that a girl can be abused and that's the problem. But at the end of the day, I don't think that they should abort the baby because it's, well, in my opinion, it's considered more.
Well, making it legal doesn't necessarily force people to do it. Like, if someone wants to have their baby, it is okay. But like, if someone doesn't, they will find a way to not have them. Or even like, there's cases when they do horrible things, or even born babies. And so the problem is not that making it legal like will incentivize people to do it. It's just so they don't need to take the risks of doing it in a clandestine way.
Yeah, I have to add something. And for example, when this fetus is developing, it's like in the medical thing, it's like 4, 5, 6 weeks that it doesn't. It's like considered as an human. So it's not technically murder because you're not killing someone, because it's not like this fetus is like not developed in a way to be considered as a human. So you're not killing someone. So
What are you killing?
Huh?
So what are you killing?
you're not killing nothing.
Well, it's the same as like with the sperm banks or something like that. Like, what if an sperm sample doesn't get used? Is that killing someone? Like, it is too philosophical at that point. But what I'm saying is that if we get into the philosophy, we're not going to get into the reality. Like, well, it could be living or not, but the reality is that people will do it anyway, regardless of what happens.
It's literally the same as using a condom. Like you use past some weeks, and if like you're not killing something, or technically you say that you're killing for using condom, so you're supporting that they don't like it's not illegal to use condoms with in those terms that you're talking.
No, I don't think that it's like the same thing, because the baby is not gonna grow. It's not gonna be able to grow if you don't,
And also, what would happen if abortion was legal, like, before some stage of development? As you said, it was like in some of the last weeks that they developed their nervous system. But what happens if you do it like in the early stages? Is that also murder?
I think yes.
I think.
But either way, like to the points we were making earlier about the child living a bad life and the parents also having the struggle of like raising the child without economic without money and without like a good place in home and things like that. I think it goes both ways about having the abortion, because as you know, and it has always been known that mothers who abort have like a lot of psychological negative psychological problems after the abortion, and they experience all kinds of like symptoms of like regret, depression, guilt, like a lot of those problems, and they cannot fix them. Like it's really hard to fix them, and with therapy and everything like that, like they just make their life worse, and sometimes they are scared to have another child again, and it's really sad, and I think that's a really negative thing too, and because because it's they feel like it's like they kill their own child. So I think that's also really negative and I really and I think that could affect humanity too.
And for example, if you give this baby alive, the mom is gonna be worse mentality. We're gonna have a worse mentality because like she's gonna be upset of having to sustain another life. It's not like when if she aborts, it's like okay, she's gonna have these depressed things and those, but she's like with her own life, but if she don't like do the abortion, she's gonna be like she needs to protect another life. So she's gonna be more upset than being just being worried about the thing that she killed a baby.
Well, I don't think so because I think that a mother's love to his or her child, like when they are born, they just like that perception changes entirely in their head, and I think that since the moment they are born, they want to give everything they have to their child and take care of them and make them feel loved, and even if they can't like afford, like there are many cases, and you can see them in movies and in real life and everything, like you can see how a mother does and a father too does everything to provide for the children, and even if they're in the worst place ever, they still love them, and I think that of course some cases the mothers are just really like they are crazy and they don't have the capacity to love a kid and everything, but almost all the cases are that as soon as the baby is born, even if the mother didn't want to have it, they immediately fall in love with the baby and they want to have a good life with them.
Well, that's kind of an ideal situation because it's not really like that. Like you cannot force people to love someone, even if it's their own baby. Like some people just don't want to do it, and so by making it legal, it's not like they are gonna abort because well, if a mother loves their child, they're not gonna do anything to them, even if it's legal or like incentivized. They're not gonna accept them. But the problem is that it is not such a small number of people who actually don't want to have a baby because well, there's like the in the well, there are many factors to not want to have them, but in the end, it's the same. It's just like leaving it as an option, not making like forcing someone to do something because if you make it illegal, you're kind of forcing them to have the child, and it's not. It's like against their rights of their own body and also. And so that is.
Well, yeah, but think about it. If you're saying that you want to make it legal because people, even if it's not legal, they can go about it in illegal ways, right? So, I mean, it's out of topic, but you don't see that some drugs like cocaine and meth and everything like that are being legalized just because people are using them. You know, it's still legal. It's still something that's wrong.
But well, the problem is that, well, yes, those drugs are not legal, but because of different reasons. Like with drugs, you have a problem that sometimes people, like those who sell drugs, are also like involved in the making of those laws. But when you say an abortion, it's not like that because there's no monetary interest. Like most likely, it is people that have like a controversial opinions, but it's in the end something that poses a danger to people because well, making it illegal again, as I said, it's forcing them, so they don't like that.
So I'm gonna add something to that, and it's like as you said, this doesn't have like a intermediate of money. So they are not doing it for money. Like it's another different topic. So you cannot compare the drugs with the abortion because it's not like the drugs we know that it's like all around the money and the mafia and those things, but we are talking about the life of some persons. So it's like I don't put like my opinion like surrounded of comparisons of the drugs and this topic. So I think also, as you said, this topic of the ethical things and thus give you like the rights of your body, because the woman is like she can do whatever she wants. So if she, as the law says, she can do whatever she wants, and if she doesn't want to have the baby, she's in the rights to don't have it. And right here in Mexico, we don't have a legalized it in all the states, but in some it's free to have this abortion. So they can go to these states and go and do this abortion.
Also, for this, I would kind of like to say that this debate would conclude.
Okay.
And so, if you agree or if you have something else to say, you could.
I think it was a good debate.
Yeah, I think that we all shared our opinions and how our perspectives on these problems, and I think it was very constructive.
Thank you.